What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update. And first up, we're going to be talking about that Qatari investment potentially coming into Tottenham. And starting off with Ben Jacobs, who says the understanding after the KSI sources is that Daniel Levy might be persuaded to sell as much as a third of Tottenham. However, QSI's strategy may be a lot lower. In a formative way, Levy may be talking to multiple suitors, and there is a possibility that Qatar Sports Investments could buy more shares at Tottenham over time. Matt Law says Qatar has signalled interest in taking a stake in Tottenham. An offer worth under £1 billion for 25% stake in Spurs was mooted in the industry by specialists as an option. The suggestion at this stage is that Tottenham would be a more likely prospect for QSI than Manchester United. Daniel Levy valued Tottenham at £3.5 billion in September 2021 when approached by a potential bidder. Martin Zieler of The Times says Qatar Sports Investment are understood not to be looking to invest in Manchester United, Leeds or Liverpool at this moment. Sean Ingle from The Guardian says QSI are planning an ambitious acquisition strategy in 2023 with Tottenham Hotspur its first priority. Reports of QSI interest in Liverpool and Manchester United are wide off the mark. Dan Kilpatrick says Qatar is aiming to expand its sports portfolio by buying a minority stake in a Premier League club, with Tottenham the most likely of targets. And finally, Ali Gold says that Daniel Levy and Qatar Sports Investment head Nasser Al Khalifi met in London hotel last week, and the subject of investing in the club was discussed amongst other topics too, although the club categorically denied that was the case. No discussions were held during the meeting last week with regards to naming rights of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, with QSI not focused on such areas as an investment entity as they have nothing to advertise. Well, what do you think about that?
Yeah, things are hotting up with this potential investment, and it was also very interesting to hear that Levy could potentially be in talks with other investment opportunities as well, not just QSI. Look, at this point, I know I've got my reservations about it. I've said it last video, but whatever happens, happens. I don't think it was, if we do get this investment, if it helps the club, it's going to. That's one thing to consider, and we need it. We need the investment. Doesn't have to be, hopefully, just from the Qataris, but we do need investment in general to compete at the moment, because other teams are spending crazy money and we're not on that wavelength right now. So I feel like the talk of investment is definitely welcome, and I think we've always talked about minority investment. So it's positive that there is investment. It's just something to consider that where it's coming from, but it's good that there is talk in general hotting up about minority investment.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant news, to be honest, and if they can sort out some sort of minority investment, I think it will be a massive step in the right direction. It could potentially mean that over time that QSI or whoever it is that does get that investment can buy shares over time to get a majority investment. But look, at the end of the day, anything to help Tottenham Hotspur, and if it will make us catapult us up there with the biggest teams in England, then I'm completely all for it, and I would love it to happen. And look, it's what we've all wanted for so long. It really is. So happy days if it does happen. But yeah, there are reservations about it, of course. But I, for one, would be very happy if it happened. And let us know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. But let's move on. Let's talk about Antonio Conte now, as Darmashes from Sky Sports has been talking. And he says, I've spoken to a couple of journalists from Italy who tell me that Conte will not leave Tottenham until he has won a trophy there. He has to win a trophy for himself, and that is the aim. He will not leave the club until they have won that trophy. The noises that are being made, I think there's a chance, every chance, that he will be here beyond that contract on the 30th of June. But it's all going to depend on what happens for the rest of the season and what potential Tottenham have got to move forward. He's going to be here till the end of his career then.
Yeah, the end of his life. It sounds like it's going to be until he wins a trophy. I hope that's true, and I hope he's committed like that, because I think, to be fair, from the person that Antonio Conte is, and that we know he's been throughout his career, that ambitious winner, always wanting to prove people wrong and do his best for wherever he is. I do believe that he is absolutely determined with all his will to win a trophy at Tottenham, and I don't think he's just here for his own ego. I think he's up for the challenge, in that opinion. I think he sees Tottenham as a challenge, but he also doesn't want to come in and obviously be hamstrung and be competing, basically like bringing a knife to a gunfight. You know what I mean? He needs to have the resources and the playing staff to be able to compete with the best. And we're not quite at the moment. We got some good players. We do. It's not like the team is full of rubbish, but it's not at the moment the way the other teams around us are investing and improving and not standing still. We can't afford to do the same. And I understand his reservations there. But I just hope that it's true, that he is determined to win that trophy. And I think as well, he's coming to a club. He knows the deal with the fan base and everything and how long we've gone without a trophy. And I'm sure he would have seen that as a challenge, not something to belittle. And I'm happy that he's making that stance. But all depends about a lot of factors. I believe he wants to believe that, if you know what I mean. But whether he'll, when push comes to shove, if he doesn't really get what he needs, would he stick to it? I don't know.
Look, at the end of the day, the guy is a top manager, one of the top 5 managers in world football right now. But he's not a magician, and he needs help, just like any other manager that would come through these doors with investment in the squad to get the squad to where it needs to be. When you're fighting against the likes of Manchester City and Chelsea, who can just throw, and Man United, who can just throw so much money at it, any problem that comes to the team's way, just chuck money at it. You're fighting a losing battle if you're not putting investment into the team. And I completely understand his stance that if he doesn't get investment, he doesn't get what he needs, he'll go out the door. And I completely agree with his stance that he should be doing that. So I also believe that completely, that he wants to win things here, and he actually can see a future here if he has investment. But if he doesn't have investment, then it's probably right for him to leave at the end of the season. And it would be the same for any other managers, to be honest. So hopefully he does get that investment. We've been saying it all along. And I think if he does get this investment, we can actually see an actual project under Antonio Conte. But it's all up in the air at the moment, and until Levy or whoever it is puts their money in their pocket and provides the players and the funds for Antonio Conte, that question and the uncertainty is always going to be there, which is frustrating. Mm-hmm. But let's move on. Let's talk about some potential incomings, and starting off with Pedro Porro once again. Ben Jacobs says a hijack from Chelsea for Pedro Porro is very possible, but David Heitner chimed in, and he said initial conversations have taken place over Pedro Porro, driven by intermediaries, and it is understood that more will take place, suggesting that a deal could be a possibility. Sporting will demand the full value of the release clause of £36.7 million. £36.7 million. Just get the deal done. We paid £30 million for Ryan Sessegnon.
Exactly, and we paid how much for Emerson? 25 million or something. I was just reading as well, Ali Gold was commenting on the deal, and he said that Sporting want the full release clause, and genuinely when clubs are paying release clause, it's usually paid in full as opposed to in installments, and that may be something that's holding up the deal. So I can understand that partly, but as well, like 36 million, we're not talking about 50, 60, 70 million, we're talking about 36 million. It's not like a massive amount in modern day football. So I don't really have too much sympathy if we can't get this deal done for that kind of money. And if I for one, I'm really excited by the prospect. If we get hijacked by Chelsea, who we know that Reece James has got injury problems right now, they're looking on the lookout for a wing back. That would be very disappointing if they hijack us, because he's been on our radar for so long now, and we could have got this deal done a long time ago if we really wanted to. But let's just hope that this is a deal that can get over the line before the end of the window.
This Chelsea strategy since Bowley has come in has been nuts. Completely nuts. I mean, what it seems like to me from an outsider, all they're doing is just copying other teams' transfer targets and trying to gazump them. It happened all throughout the summer, and now it seems like it's happening again. And obviously Arsenal were looking at Felix, Chelsea went to get him, Arsenal were looking at Mudryk, Chelsea are interested in him, now Porro. It happened time and time again in the summer with Rafinha it happened with, but they didn't end up getting him. And I mean, what are they doing over there at Chelsea?
Well, Todd Bowley's apparently the sporting director, so
I thought he stepped down though.
Who knows? I don't know what the situation is right now at Chelsea, but it's very much a scattergun approach, it looks like, in terms of their transfers. Obviously, Graham Potter's now come in. He's struggling a bit right now. They're sitting in 10th, and it just goes to show sometimes. Look, I'm sure things are going to turn around and results will improve eventually, but right now, they pump so much money into it, and it just goes to show as much as money is important, and we as Spurs fans know how important money is, if there's not the vision correct,
there needs to be a plan in place,
then it doesn't quite work, and we're seeing that right now with Chelsea.
Absolutely. Let's move on. Let's talk about Leandro Trossard once again. Alex Crook says Tottenham hold a genuine interest in Trossard, but are yet to make a firm offer. The forward is now under contract until 2024 at Brighton after they triggered a 1-year option. Ben Jacobs says that Trossard does want to move away from Brighton and could be available for a bargain. It will come down to whether Spurs will see the value in the Trossard deal. If his contract running until 2024 now, how much do you reckon he would cost?
Well, look, seeing as he's 28, and as much as I like him as a player, I don't see him being an elite attacker or anything like that. I think he's a good player. So I mean, for me, I don't think he's worth any more than 30 million for me personally. When it was 6 months, for me, we're looking at 15 million, something like that.
20, yeah.
And now he's got the extension. I think you're looking at 30 million. I think that's a fair price. He's not a player who gets bags of goals. He's someone who's creative. He's got a good eye. He's got a decent eye for goal, and he's quite decent at dribbling. But I don't think he's a special player, in my opinion, I think he's a good squad attacker, and he would add depth. So, but I think there are better players out there for me. I think we can get. So,
he's been a standout player in a Brighton side over the last couple of years. Obviously, having his best season in a Brighton shirt this season with 7 goals already, where I think he got 6 last season, or maybe 8 or whatever it was. Is there not a case to say that maybe seeing him in a better side with better players around him, that he could flourish even more?
Potentially, but I think on the flip side, I actually think a lot of their attack goes through him, and he's played in a system which is very offensive, especially under Potter. It creates loads and loads of chances, and I think he's benefited from the system more than Brighton have benefited from him, in my opinion. And look how good at times Danny Welbeck's been. You know what I mean? In that Brighton system, I think it works for him, and it means he gets lots of chances to prove his attacking ability. And I don't know if he'd be as effective at Tottenham. I'm sure he would be good. I don't know. And I'm sure with likes of Kane and Son around him, I'm sure he'll benefit from that as well. But I actually think he benefits a lot from Brighton's system.
Interesting. Well, let us know your thoughts on Trossard in the comments section below. Let's talk about Piero Hincapie now, as Dharmaseth says that Tottenham are continuing to look at Bayer Leverkusen defender Piero Hincapie and will make him #1 priority in the summer. Napoli are also interested in the Ecuadorian international. And you've made it quite clear how much you rate him.
Yeah, I have. And I think he's a top talent. And I'd be very interested to see what he could do if we signed him. But if anyone's expecting, the problem with Hincapie is he's 20 years of age. He's still got quite a lot of developing to do. If anyone's expecting him to come in and instantly be the answer right now, I think you got to be a bit more patient than that. That's why it's like if we signed in Hincapie, I'd kind of want another one alongside him, but. I do think he's got the potential to be a top defender in the future, and maybe he could come in and just be like another William Saliba, and that'd be amazing. But I think it's kind of, it might be asking too much to do that. You know what I mean?
Do you reckon Romero was definitely a much more ready-made player than Hincapie coming in?
Yeah, I think so.
Age? I mean, how old is Hincapie? 20, 21?
20, yeah.
So what? Romero came to us at 22.
Got like Serie A Defender of the Year. He'd already had a couple of really good years playing at the top level. And Capier's doing really well. And he's played. I'm not saying he's not ready. I'm sure he's definitely ready to come and play for Tottenham. No doubt about it. Is he ready to come and is he going to come in and just be flawless straight away? Like I'm saying, like Saliba's just come in and just been brilliant, and he's a very young defender, but he's definitely the exception to the rule in terms of how good these young defenders are. I'm sure Hincapie is going to be coming in and he can improve us for sure, but he's not. I don't think he's going to come in and be perfect straight away. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Next up, Azzedine Ounahi, a player that we were really impressed with during the World Cup for Morocco. Ben Jacobs says that Tottenham are creeping into the conversation for Morocco and Angers midfielder Ounahi, but would have to move quite quickly as he has also had interest from Leeds, Leicester and Napoli. So that's that deal done then, if we have to move quite quickly.
Yeah, we don't move quickly. That's not what Tottenham do. Obviously, Ounahi was brilliant at the World Cup. I don't know. I didn't see too much of him before or since, but he was absolutely outstanding. His dribbling ability, his eye for a pass, didn't really get too many chances in the final third, but his just play in the middle of the park was brilliant. Whether I would stump up big money on the back of that, considering who we already have in centre mid, I don't know, but maybe Tottenham is seeing as he's 22 years of age. There's not such a big outlay. Tottenham probably see that as an opportunity, and I wouldn't be surprised if we went for it. But it just smacks at me like an unnecessary signing, if you know what I mean. Not a signing, like a signing's like, what's the point of it? I'm not really sure.
Sell on value is the point, probably.
I guess just for that, I guess maybe the club see it as worth it. But I don't know. Sure, bring him in. I'd be happy about it, but I obviously we have other I don't want us to be at the end of this window and we haven't got a right wing back and we haven't got or an attacking midfielder or a centre back. We have Ounahi. You know what I mean?
He's not a priority, but it'll be nice to bring him in.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Let's move on. Let's talk about Max Kilman, which is an interesting one. Ben Jacobs says, keep an eye on Max Kilman from Wolves for the summer. He's been firmly on Tottenham's radar. And he's actually a player who I really like. He's been part of a solid Wolves back line for the last couple of years, can play on the left side of a back three. And I think he'll be brilliant for us. I really do.
Yeah, I've been really super impressed with Max Kilman. What I really like about him is he's really big and tall, but he's really composed on the ball. He likes to bring the ball out into midfield and he likes to get the ball down and play a bit as well. He's got quite good strides and dribbling ability. So Max Kilman is definitely a one I'd consider. Whether he's ready for that step up, that's obviously a question mark, but you never know until he makes it. Obviously, Wolves have always been quite solid defensively over the past couple of years, and he's been a big part of that. So I, for one, would be quite happy to bring him in. I think as well, he's at a decent age, like 23 now. So I think, and he's probably going to be more ready now than someone like Hincapie. I think Hincapie probably has a higher ceiling than Kilman, but I think Kilman right now is probably a better player.
I'd love Kilman through. I think he would slot in straight away in that left-sided role. But next up, Jed Spence. Ben Jacobs says that Southampton, Wolves and Bayer Leverkusen all interested in taking Jed Spence on loan, and Southampton manager Nathan Jones really likes the Tottenham defender Jed Spence. And I think he could do a really good job there, especially at Southampton or Wolves. Premier League move, probably play week in, week out. I think it'd be really good for his development.
Yeah, you saw what Kyle Walker-Peters did at Southampton, didn't he? Really went strength to strength. They do have a new manager now. I think any Premier League move would do, and if he's playing regularly, will do the world of good for him, and as well his standing in Tottenham in terms of how ready he is for the Premier League. I think half of it is just the fact that he hasn't played in the Premier League before, and whether Conte is just wary of that fact, or maybe in training he hasn't been good enough. That's fair enough, but either way, I would love for him to get regular Premier League minutes and prove Conte or everyone wrong to say that he's not ready, and it could take up his game leaps and bounds. And I think it could really improve him, because right now, whether I want him to stay or not, he's not getting a look in, so he might as well go on loan.
Yeah. And last but not least, Hugo Lloris has announced his retirement from international football. France's record appearance holder, and he appeared in 145 matches and has captained France a record number of 120 times. So big up to Hugo Lloris, World Cup winning captain as well. And I think what a career he's had, Hugo Lloris, especially with his national side.
He's been goalkeeper for so long. It's mad to think about. If you remember, do you remember, I don't know what year it was, I think it was like 2008 when Henry did that handball against Ireland, that famous handball. Lloris was in goal for that game for France. So that's how long he has been number one for the French national team. He's had an outstanding international career, obviously winning a World Cup, being to Euros final, being to two, and a World Cup final as well. It's astonishing how his longevity, really. I think it goes under the radar. How long he's been at the top there, and what a phenomenal career, and fair play to him. And now maybe him retiring on international football could make maybe better for Spurs in the short term. Take his eye off it. He won't have to go on international duty. But obviously we know he's probably leaving Spurs soon anyway. But congratulations to Lloris on a fantastic international career, and we'll be here to look after you at Spurs.
Absolutely. And, you know, when Lloris signed that contract, he said that he was going to be involved with the succession plan for him and the goalkeeper and who we're going to bring in next, and someone that could be in goal for the next 10 years. And it's interesting, he's had these quotes on Emi Martinez after his World Cup final shooting antics. And the quote is, "Making a fool of myself in goal, rattling my opponent and crossing that line. I just can't do that. I'm too rational and honest a man to go that way." Do you make from that comment that maybe Emi Martinez might not be the succession plan?
Well, I never thought he was anyway, but definitely. And look, Lloris has too much class for that. He's always been a smooth operator, hasn't he? He's always been a touch of class, and that doesn't surprise me. But then again, Martinez won the shootout, so he would say he has the last laugh.
Yeah, he definitely did have the last laugh. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any thoughts regarding any of the news stories we've brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
come on you Spurs.